Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is part two of our lesson for chapter 11, section 2. We just finished up with talking about Judaism and how the Jews are being persecuted by the Romans, even their religion being banned in and being kicked out of Jerusalem. What we're going to talk about now in this one here is a new religion. Of course, this new religion is Christianity. Okay? Now, Christianity is a religion that is based on the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. Christianity and Judaism, they are not the same. But the roots of Christianity do start with Judaism. Okay, we're going to talk about the Christian Bible, and it's got two different books. It's got the New Testament, which is the Christian part, but it's the Old Testament is really the teachings of Judaism, and then that's where the two religions split. Okay, the Old Testament being the Jewish teachings and things like that, and then the New Testament being about the life of Jesus and his teachings. All right. Now, at the time that Jesus was born, of course, this land, Judea, where he's at in Nazareth, Bethlehem, all that, it is still occupied or it's under the Roman rule. Okay. There are Jews within that area that they're stricter about their religion than others. Some are so strict that it depends on what food they eat, the clothing they wear, the things whatever it is. They have certain laws that they have to obey, and these are laws that Moses had handed down thousands and thousands of years before. Now, Jews believe that Moses gave them these set of laws to follow, like the Ten Commandments, and to observe different holidays, different traditions, avoid certain foods, and maybe even perform daily rituals, those types of things. Other Jews didn't really follow the laws as closely. Now, that's in every religion. You're going to have some that are very strict, some that are a little bit more loose with the rules. Now, according to the Jews, though, prophecy was that there's going to be some anointed one, God's anointed one, which is a Messiah. And the Jews really believed once the Romans took over in 63 BC that this Messiah, this anointed one, was coming soon. Christians would say, of course, that anointed one is Jesus. So Jesus of Nazareth, many people believe was the Jewish Messiah. He lives at the very beginning of the first century AD. Of course, this marks our time from shifting from BC to AD as the birth of Jesus and things like that. He was a very influential figure throughout all of world history. However, very little is known about his early life, or most of his life. What we know about his life comes from the teachings of the New Testament. Okay, and like I said before, the Christian Bible is made up of those two books, the Old Testament, which is basically the Jewish teachings, and then the New Testament, the Christian teachings. Now, the birth of Jesus, supposedly he was, Mother Mary, married to the carpenter of Joseph, but Christians, if you believe in Christianity, believe that God was the father of Jesus, not Joseph. As a young man, he lives, in Nazareth. He probably learns how to be a carpenter because that's part of the Jewish tradition is that you're going to basically do whatever your father did. And then around the age of 30 or so, this is when Jesus' story starts to be told in the New Testament, where he goes out and spreads the word of Christianity. According to the Bible, Jesus, excited people wherever he went. And it has to deal with his teachings. Okay? As a teacher, he travels throughout the Judean countryside. So they're throughout all of Judea. And he's influencing those that are listening to him. And he's getting large crowds. At first, they don't believe, but then through his message, repeating his message, they start to believe his words. And a lot of it is because it gives them hope. And that's what they were looking for. They hated being under Roman rule. They hated the poor and being poor and mistreated and stuff like that. Jesus brought them hope. He brought them hope not that the Romans were going to be better. He brought them hope that life on earth, yes, might be bad, but there is something better awaiting you once you die. Now, with his teachings, Jesus was really challenging the ideas of the Romans, challenging the government of Rome. And this was scaring the Roman government. It was also scaring the Jewish leaders, the leaders of the Jewish religion, because they didn't think that Jesus was the Son of God. And he kept saying, or they kept believing he was, things like that. So eventually he is going to be put on trial and found guilty of claiming to be a king of the Jews and all this type of stuff. And he's crucified. So he's hanged, nailed to the cross and killed. And this then 3 days later is the resurrection. Now, this all right here, this crucifixion, resurrection, for Christians is the holiest time period within the Christian year. So this is Easter. This is Easter time. You have Good Friday where Jesus is crucified, and then of course Easter Sunday is the most holiest day of all for Christians, and this is where Jesus fulfills the prophecy of rising from the dead to go around and teach his word, and then eventually he'll ascend into heaven and things like that. Some of his followers, which are called disciples, they claim to have seen Jesus after he was crucified. And then this is where you get the word Christ. It's a Greek word for Messiah, so Christos. And then eventually anybody that follows this religion is known as a Christian. And then Christianity, so the followers of Christianity will later develop from that, as others will go around and teach of Jesus' life. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, what is it that Jesus taught? Some of the different things. He emphasized really two rules that were also taught in the Jewish religious book, the Torah. Right here they are. Love God, love other people. Those are really the two rules that Jesus taught. He expected his followers to love all people, not just family and friends, all people, even your enemies. Be generous to the poor and the sick, things like that. He always taught, treat others as you would want to be treated. It's kind of known as the golden rule. There was another important theme, maybe not a teaching, but a theme within Jesus' teachings that had to deal with salvation. Salvation means to be saved. And in this case here, it dealt with the rescue from sin. Jesus taught, of course, that all people are sinners, but they could have salvation. They could be saved from their sins. And if you are saved from your sin, then you too will have the chance to go to heaven and be in the kingdom of God after you die. So a lot of his teachings dealt with how people could reach the kingdom. And it didn't have anything to do with money and goods, having more materials. Really, I mean, there's a lot of things like, it's going to be harder for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven than a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Those were some of the teachings, things like that. And then over the many of centuries, there would be different interpretations of his teachings. People could read the Bible and get different meanings out of it. And this is what leads to different types of, practicing Christians. So Catholics are Christians, so are Methodists, Lutherans, Protestants, Episcopalians. There's all kinds of different ways to practice Christianity in what you believe is the right way to do things. Then you have the apostles. Okay, so after Jesus has died, the apostles are going to be the ones that have they're disciples, so they're followers of Jesus, but these 12 disciples have a special training on how to go out and spread his word. And that's what the apostles are supposed to do, go throughout the empire and spread Jesus' word. Some will actually write down the words of Jesus, what they believe were his teachings. 4 of the more popular ones become known as the Gospels within the Bible, from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Historians and religious scholars, depend on the Gospels to get information about Jesus' life. But then there's Paul of Tarsus. St. Paul. He's kind of seen as the most important of the apostles that will go around and spread the teachings of Jesus. He will write letters to people about Jesus' teachings, about the resurrection, all this type of stuff. And it's known in the Bible as, Paul's letters to the Romans and things like that. Paul also telling Christians they don't have to obey all Jewish laws. They need to follow Jesus' teachings. And these ideas are what's going to help the Christian church break away from Judaism. Now, the growth of Christianity comes from these apostles. And they're risking their lives because a lot of these Christians are going to be persecuted, killed. Paul's going to be killed. I believe Paul is crucified on the cross also, but crucified upside down, which is kind of seen as he's the worst of the worst, that type of stuff. Others will be beheaded, put into jails, prisons for their lives, things like that. But Christianity is still going to spread. It's too late to stop it. Even though the Romans will try to ban this religion, just like they banned Judaism, it can't be stopped. It's going to be a slow haul trying to spread it, but still, it's going to be spreading. And the Romans feared this. Okay, the Romans feared that the Christians would lead to other places rising up and creating civil wars and throwing out the Roman government, because this teaching teaches, hey, you don't have to follow Roman law. You have to follow God's law. And there will be a period of unrest that is known as the beginning of a period of persecution against the Christians. And they're going to be punished for their religious beliefs. And now, as you can see, here's little pockets of area of Christian areas. Right here is Jerusalem, and how you can see it'll spread over the hundreds of years throughout this empire. Eventually, by about 4 to 500 AD, the entire Roman Empire will be a Christian empire. It's just not there according to this map yet. But it is spreading. And it will eventually spread. It'll be Constantine, who's an emperor in the 300s, around 320. He's ready to take his army into battle. And the night before he goes into battle, he has a vision or a dream. And in his dream, he sees his soldiers, their shield has the sign of the cross on it. And then they go into battle and they have a big victory. And then Constantine will credit that victory to this dream, and he's going to become Christian. And Constantine, he persecuted the Christians nonstop before this. He's going to stop persecuting them. He's going to remove the bans on the religion and stuff like that. And then later, Christianity will become the official religion of the Roman Empire. And which makes sense now today, of course, because here's Rome. That's where the head of the Catholic Church, which will be the Pope, will be stationed in Rome. This entire region will become the Holy Roman Empire and stuff like that. So Catholicism was kind of the first part of Christianity. Eventually, though, it will split in the Middle Ages, where some people disagree on the practicing of Christianity, and we'll talk about that in a later lesson. All right, so hopefully you got what you need out of this. I would ask you, please take a look at these pictures and maps, understand them. Definitely read this here little blurb about Paul and his letter to the Romans. Gives you some good understanding of it. This famous picture of the Last Supper by Da Vinci, painted 1,000+ years after, of course, the Last Supper. So definitely go back and look at these things dealing with Christian holidays. I would love for you guys to read those things about these different images. All right, so that's the second portion of Chapter 11, Section 2. Thank you guys, and have a good day.